everyone, and welcome to my December, I don't know, changing the ink video. I did one for November, and I did one about all the grays that I use, and basically I've also done one about taking my pens for a walk, which usually happens on Sunday, and I did that this morning after my journaling. And when I do that, I kind of notice which pens I really haven't used, and I clean those out and retire them for now. Um, and then I look at the inks that I have in my current pens that I'm using a lot, and I decide whether or not I'm still feeling it, or if they're really running low, or if they just need a refresh, that kind of thing. And so today I did that in my journal, and there were 3 pens that I retired. Otherwise, everything is the same as it was in November, except for these 5 pens, and one is a newer one. Um, so I just wanted to kind of go over which inks I chose. I kind of I have certain pens I like in the summer, and some I like in the autumn, and some in the winter, and some in the spring. So these are my wintry pens. I really love whites and grays and creams, those kinds of colors, pale silvery blues even, and mostly I love gray ink. I have one surprise today that I never thought I would do, but I'm absolutely loving it. So I have a few papers here to try. This is my ink swatch book that I've been using since March, and that's where when I put a new ink in a pen, I document that. And when I get a new ink, I make a swatch of it. And so I have 2 new inks here to swatch that are not, no, 3, I think, that are not in here. Maybe none of these are in here. Hold on. No, I've got that one in here. This one is in here. So I'll swatch those and then write the names of the new colors in the pens. So that's going to be over here. And this is just a little traveler's notebook. That's all it is. So then I have my beloved MD paper, which is what I use in my journal every day. Actually, that's not true. Right now I'm using a Cosmo Air Light notebook. I'm almost done. I'm just telling you, I don't like it. It's too spongy. The ink spreads on it. It doesn't feather, but it spreads. It's not for me. I know a lot of people love it, and the ink does really cool things on it, but I don't like the feel of my pen on this paper. I am an MD person for sure. So I've got my MD paper, and then I've got some onion skin paper to try from Yamamoto paper. And I thought that would be kind of fun to see what happens. Because I do write in an onion skin journal when my poems for the year are in an onion skin journal. All right, so let's just start. I'm going to move some of this out of the way so we don't have to be crowded. And I think I'll start with the Kavekos. And actually, one of them, this one, is a refresh. I love this ink. It was sent to me by a dear friend, a sample of it, and I just basically refilled a cartridge, and the cartridge is getting low, so I just put more of the ink in there, and I will use it up until it's gone, and then I will probably repurchase it, or purchase it, not repurchase it. This is Sailor Byakuya. So I'm going to write that down here. And I don't own this ink, so I'm not going to necessarily write it in here, but this is a Kaweco. Sport AL in anthracite, and this ink matches this pen so beautifully. This is a bold nib, I think. Is it? Yes, this is a bold nib, or broad, or I call it bold, but it's probably just broad. And this is Sailor. And it's from the, I think it's the Uramaki or something. Urameki series of inks, but these are the series that are built around gray and then different shades of gray. And I noticed that when I use a cartridge that I fill myself, right, I don't get the benefit of the vacuum sucking up the ink through here, and sometimes it's a little choppy in the beginning, but eventually it flows really well. Sometimes when I first refill it, it has some starts and stops. So that's this one, and it's just really pretty. And so what's so interesting about this ink is that it looks gray and it's very pale, but then when you try it on different papers, and I don't have any Tomoe River paper here, but let's see how it looks on the onion skin. So it's going to spread out a little bit more on here. This paper will suck the ink out. But what you'll notice is as it dries, it separates into two colors. So one color sort of becomes two, and this is pink with green. And it's just a really fun thing to write with. You can already see it happening. The pink separates from the green, and pink and green make gray, right? Red and green make gray. So they've taken all of these different contrasting colors of ink and they've mixed them together in one. And I'm sure there's some kind of chemical they use to make them separate. But when they look gray when you write them, and then when they dry, they separate into two colors, and it's just really a lot of fun. So let me write this one here too. This is the Sailor. And you notice how different the pen writes on every surface, right? And I know a lot of people want to know how wet it is and everything. That's not a really good test in here, but typically Sailor inks are fairly wet. But you can really see, especially if I just fill in a circle, even from this pen that sort of holds back in the beginning because of the way I filled it, it still will complete a circle really nicely. So it's just a beautiful ink. It's very pale, so it's not something you would use for documents, or this is for fun. I use this in my journal, right? It's just beautiful. I've written letters with it. I absolutely love it. So that's Sailor Kuya, probably, from the Urameki series. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I don't know if it's on here, because this is another color in that series now. So the next one is also the same series, and I've put it in my Kaweco Opal, I call it. I think it's called Iridescent, but I call it Opal. So I'm going to put this in here because it's a new color for this pen. This is a medium nib. I really like the broad nibs in the Kaweco, or the double broad. This is just a Kaweco Sport Opal medium nib, and this one is Sailor, also pale, right? Ama Moyoi. Ama Moyoi. And it's just really pretty, so I'm just gonna put that in here. I already did a sample, so you can see that it's green and red also. And they mix to make gray when they write, but they separate out into those two colors, which is just beautiful. And so it shows up pretty light on the MD paper. Let's see how it does. So you can see the difference between the medium and the broad nib here, but it still spreads out quite a bit. So again, this is more on the gray violet, and this is more on the warm gray green. But I love these subtle colors, especially for this time of year. In the place where I live, it's very snowy and pale in general, and it just really suits this time of year, which is my favorite time of year. And then on the MD paper, you get a very fine thickness of line, because it's MD paper just really, it feels finer all around. This is Ama, and I like that. My handwriting in general is fairly small. So it really looks like a gray. But when it dries, there's some subtle color shifts here. So Kavecos aren't, you have to either fill a cartridge with a syringe, or you can use their converters, which I have in this pen. And I end up filling this with a syringe also, so that you don't get that nice juicy vacuum flow at first. Eventually it catches up, but it's always a little bit drier in the beginning, so I want to mention that for here. But what a lovely color. Okay. So the next one that I changed, I got a new, this is one of my favorite ink companies. I've had this for a while, but I haven't really used it in a pen yet. And this is called Shoot the Moon, and it's from Waringo Inks, and it's in the Yundongju series. So they do series of ink colors based on literary authors, and they're the titles of the ink are titles of books or novels they have written. And this one just really appealed to me because it's just that dark gray, blue, black color that I love. And I am going to swatch this in here because I have not yet. I'm going to turn the page because I know I'm going to be swatching a couple. Okay. So this is beautiful. It's just my favorite kind of gray. So there's that. And then if I just hit it with a tiny bit of water, just so you can kind of see the other tones in it. It's a perfect wintry gray. All right, and I put it into this Sailor Pro Gear Slim. This is the Snow Leaf Moon from several years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. And I got this kind of aftermarket, really, really inexpensive. So I was pretty happy about it. And I just do shorthand, not shorthand, but Pro Gear Slim. This is a medium fine nib. And this is Waringo. Shoot the Moon. And I love this color because I like neutral inks in general, but this is just a little bit softer and more elegant than black, right? Or just a straight gray. Very, very pretty color. I really, really like this one. So let's take a look at what it looks like on onion skin paper. They're one of my favorite ink companies for sure. Onion skin paper is so interesting because it's so delicate and transparent, and yet the ink doesn't bleed through. I love that. What gorgeous winter colors so far. Love them. All right, and then here, so this is the paper I write on every day, most often, and you can see how it benefits my handwriting a lot. Let me just, yeah, it's pretty wet, but it still has that lovely sailor fineness and feedback that is just so beautiful. And this is going to be, because it's such a fine nib, it's going to be a little different to fill something in, but I can still do it. Just have to be delicate. So gorgeous, gorgeous color. Love this pen. This pen, I looked at it for a while, and when I saw it, it was under $100, which is amazing. It was like $79. But see the sparkles in it? It's very beautiful. I love this pen. So that's Shoot the Moon. Next is my only pro gear, and I like this when I have to write for long periods of time, and the nib is a medium. And so, well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's just a really comfortable writer. It's very soft, fluid, just works really well for long periods of time, and it's a little bit thicker in the body. This is a special Japan only color. It's called Daisy White, and I really love this pen. But anyways, this is a new one for me. This is Dominant Industry Winter Wood, and I had a sample of it, and I really, really loved it. And I love these inks in general, the Dominant Industry. Love the bottle. I love everything about it. So this one's called Winter Wood, and this is a new one. Fairly new. So I want to swatch that in my book because it's not in here yet. And this is a deep foresty brown. So it reminds me of the tree bark in the winter. Let's put the cap on that. And let's write. So you will see right away the difference between the medium fine and a 14 karat nib, and then a medium 21 karat. It's just a big difference for me anyways. It's so smooth. So it's like glass. So this is the Sailor Pro Gear in medium. And this is Dominant. Oh, I really like this color. Winter Wood. So let's, very pretty. The tree bark is an important thing in the winter. Sometimes it's the only color you see. So this is Dominant Industry Winter Wood. This is a really wet ink. You can just see, ooh, gorgeous. But look at that palette. Makes me so happy. Okay. So here, even on the MD paper, it's just, it still has that sailor feedback, but it's just smooth as glass. It's like your pen just floats across the paper. And you get a little bit of line variation with this pen, with this nib, but not much. None of the sailors, except for what I'm going to show you in a second, have a lot of line variation. Okay, so that's Dominant Industry Winterwood. Now this last one is really special to me, and I'm going to swatch this ink in here. This pen was a gift from a very dear friend, and I was just so stunned by it. It's beautiful. It's just really beautiful. It's a white Sailor Pro Gear Slim, and it has a 14 karat nib that has been custom ground by Dave the Nib Smith into a cursive italic nib. And it's, well, you'll see. I'm not going to show you the ink yet. So this ink, let me just have a little sip of my drink. So this ink is also Dominant Industry, and this is a color that I never use. But when I saw it, I thought if I would ever use this color, this would be the one. It's red. I'm not a red person in any way, shape, or form, but when I saw this color, and there was a special price on it, I thought, what the heck? I'm gonna try it. I didn't even get a sample. So let me swatch this for you. It's called Romania Red. You can just see, I think you can see in the light coming through, but maybe not. Wait till you see this color. It's just beautiful. I don't know. It's just so rich and gorgeous. It's not bright, like obnoxious bright. It's just perfect. And hold on just a second, I lost an ink swab on the floor, and that's not good. So let me just put a little bit of water into it. It's not going to change too much. It's pretty much just red. Gets a little brighter. But the magic happens in the pen with this color. So when I first got the pen, I put in another one of my favorites, which is Berlin Blue #1, the black label. And it was gorgeous. But then when I saw this, I thought, how perfect black, white, and red. And how perfect for this time of year. It's like the cardinals that perch in the trees. So this is a Sailor Pro Gear Slim. I think it's a medium fine nib, custom cursive italic. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. And this is Dominant Industry Romania Red. Gorgeous. You can see as it dries, it's just like red velvet. It's got black sheening. Yeah. Okay, so let's try it on this paper. This is going to totally change the palette. It just makes me want to write all day when I use this pen. That's it. That's my December pen palette. Okay, and then let's play here. So again, Dominant Industry. Now, what this nib does for me as a left-handed person is really remarkable. I get variation in my line without even trying. So it works really well with my handwriting. So you can see where I go down, it's a little thicker, and when I go across, it's really thin. Um, it makes my handwriting, and that I just lifted my pen off the paper. That's why that skipped. So this is Romania. It just makes me want to write all day. So here, if I go across, down, up, across is very, very fine. Down is thick. See that? So my upstrokes are thin, my downstrokes are thicker. And like for someone who loves brush lettering but cannot do it, I cannot do it. I've tried a million times. I've tried all different techniques. It just looks terrible when I try to do it with felt tip brush pens, right? This makes me happy because I've got this beautiful variation in my handwriting. Printing. Beautiful, right? Cursive. Right? My name. It's just, I could write all day. And I do sometimes. Yeah, so that's Romania Red, and that's this beautiful, beautiful pen that I just treasure. It quickly became my favorite pen to write with, for sure. It's just fun. I've never been able to have that much sort of flair in my writing. I mean, I like all the nibs, but this is just beyond. And I don't know why it works for me, but it just does. I have another italic nib that doesn't work as well for me. Plus it stops and starts a lot. And I'll just show you. Look at that palette though. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful. But if I try to brush letter and if I like want to do my name, so downstroke would be heavier, right? Down, up, down. It just looks clunky. I've tried and tried and tried. I can't do it. It just doesn't work for me. So, and that's okay, right? I like my handwriting the way it is. But yeah, so it's pretty special. So those are my December choices. Those are the pens I'll be using and the inks I've got in them. And I'll revisit that after the first of the year, but I have a feeling they're going to stay pretty much the same. I like these subtle grayish colors in this time of year. And do you see how subtle this red is when it dries? It just fits right in, doesn't it? Really, really happy with these choices. All right, everyone. Oh, I want to make my little circle. I would love to know what inks you're loving for this time of year. And you might live in a different hemisphere, and so you're in spring going into summer right now. I would love to know what your favorites are right now. These are definitely mine. All right, thanks so much, and I will see you again soon. Take care.